Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of American Gothic. So, a very good episode. We have so many things coming to light in this episode. We finally have Garrett, finally telling Tess the truth, at least about the whole Jenkins situation. I still keep it secret about the other thing, but she was like, tell me the truth. It's just like, you say, okay, you're not the accomplice, but you wouldn't tell me that you did kill somebody. It's just like, why didn't you say anything? Like, it was out of mercy. It wasn't like you outright killed him, but still, it's not something easy for him to talk about. The fact of the matter is, he killed someone nonetheless. Even if it was a mercy killing, he still killed someone, especially someone that, in his words, was like a mentor, but really more like a father figure to him. Especially knowing that, I guess, especially like I brought it up last time, is like, especially considering the fact is he had such a rocky like history with his own dad. So I guess that was one way of kind of looking at it. And so he's like, I haven't told anyone this. Like, so, Tess is like, let us be more open with each other. So, and he told her about Christina. I mean, he tries to track her down during the episode, but she's kind of avoiding him. I mean, it's kind of like a type of situation, because it's like, well, he's trying to track her down, but let's not forget the fact that she thought that you were at one point SBK and she stabbed you. And then it turns out that you aren't SBK, but it's like, oh, now she finds out you might be his accomplice, but now it's like, okay, you're not his accomplice now. She's conflicted. I mean, maybe she hasn't heard the news yet. Like, ever since he got the call, like, he called her about being pregnant, she probably, like, went into hiding, because it's like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're a serial killer. But with everything being said and done, it's kind of like, obviously, he's not the accomplice. He's not SBK. And definitely, like, 'cause you even have Brady thinking about it later on, like, maybe we should take a step back from both Garrett and, well, kind of recess the situation with Mitchell being possibly the killer, because the knife wasn't something Mitchell gave to Garrett. It was just something Garrett already had. Not really that it was originally Garrett's knife. So I'm still sticking by it. That's what 100% has to be what it is. Like I said, last episode, he said it. He tried to kill me. So the person he killed is SBK. That's whose body he's got to be trying to dispose of at the end of the episode that Brady catches him. I was like hoping they attack it on, and it'd be like Brady be like, okay, whose body is this? And he's like, it's SBK's. And then Brady's like, wait, what? And then it cuts to the end of the episode, but then it stops right when Brady catches him, just like he's grinding up the bones. Now I can only assume that that's because, with everything being what it is, that SBK's accomplice is back out there again. I'm guessing like Garrett kind of feels like, if SBK's accomplice finds out about SBK being, I mean, obviously, like, being dead, I mean, he's not really sure whether SBK really knows or not. There's something I'm going to get to in a second, but it's like, with that being it is, maybe he feels like his family might be threatened if, like, SBK's body's discovered or something like that. Like, basically, the body represents evidence that could tie back to them, and it could put them all in danger, especially considering the fact is that SBK, what I meant to say is, considering the fact is that, he's got a baby on the way, and he wants to not just protect the new family that he might possibly start with, a child on the way, but also protect his family, because he doesn't want this to kind of blow back on them. Or it could be because he wants to hide SBK's real identity. Like I said, it's still a possibility. What if Christina's dad was actually SBK? No, I forgot about it. I have to completely eradicate that. Now I'm being stupid. Like, that theory, that no longer is pliable, because SBK's body was never found, but Christina's dad's body was, so it totally can't be her dad. So I'm being stupid saying that. So never mind, completely ignore that. But that was kind of interesting. Like, I can only assume that's the only reason why he'd do it now, because that body's been there for like 14 years, and they never bothered disposing of it. I guess they felt like, they would have gotten caught if they were trying to dispose of it, at that time. They were just trying to get it out of the house, but then it's kind of like, I guess I can get, this way it's a lot easier taken care of, because it's like, if you dispose of the body, it's a lot, like throwing it in a river or something like that. Like, it would have been easily found, and it would have still came back to Garrett and stuff like that. So I don't know. Like I said, it makes sense why they did what they did. Like, I mean, not rationally speaking. Rationally speaking, I'd be like, no, confess. Like, say Garrett killed the guy that tried to kill him. But I guess, at the time, it's kind of like it's his word against a dead guy. So it's like SBK's never left any evidence. So it's kind of hard to attack this guy's like SBK. It's like, plus they didn't want their family wrapped up in it. But once again, don't see why that, not unless there's even more to it. Because it's like, still, why would you kill Mitchell over wanting to tell the truth about that? I don't know, because the fact is, what I was thinking about, like what I was saying, like SBK's accomplice knows that their family's connected to SBK disappearing or dying, because there was that whole situation with Madeline and her bag was filled with bells. Now I don't know whether that was Jack trying to play some sick joke on her or something like that, or whether that was SBK's accomplice leaving a remark saying like, "I know your family has something to do with it." So maybe that could also be why Garrett, like tying back in, like that could be extra motive for Garrett to get rid of the body, because it's like SBK's accomplice is closing in on him. I really like the fact is we kind of had a little bit of a, like, because they're two characters we've never really seen interact too much, is Brady and Allison. Like, they kind of had their moments to shine this episode when Allison told him the truth after Cutter confronted her, taking her in, asking all these questions. Like, Jennifer was looking into the mayor and Cutter because they were up to some shady stuff. It's like, what were they up to? They went to Jennifer's house to kind of get some evidence. And what I love the fact is that they like got to her safe and it's like all these different things. And then Brady puts in a code. He even says it out loud, and Allison's like, really? Because like basically he measured her bust, gave her measurements as trying to be the safe code. But it's like basically he already said it, like she's very narcissistic. I mean, the safe is even behind a picture of herself. So it's like, yeah, granted, it's like, okay, of course her measurements might be the combination, but at the same time, she's kind of like, really? I mean, the fact of the matter is you have good eyes. I mean, to be able, like, I can never determine a woman's, like, measurements by looking at her. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know whether he just naturally knew them just from seeing her, or was it just looking at the picture he was able to determine her butt, measurements and stuff. I keep saying that, like, your bust and your measurement are different things, right? I know that, like, your bust is part of your measurements. That's why I keep saying that, but anyway, moving on. And then you're just like, okay, try her birthday, which was the first one that came to my mind. I was like, yeah, she's narcissistic, her birthday. Okay, that didn't work. And they were just running through everything, just like all the selfish things, like self-centered, like, oh, this is the first time she appeared on TV, blah, 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 all these things. It's just kind of like, wow. Like, to me, they cut it in such a, like, comic way. That's what I find very interesting about this show. Even though it's this dark mystery aspect to it, it does have a little bit of a humorous side to it as well. I find that very interesting that they do that. I like crime dramas that blend comedy into it. Like, it doesn't have to be full on funny like certain crime dramas like Psych or Castle, but it is nice that, like, I do like when people like when funny moments are weaved into it. So, and just the way they cut around it, and it's just like, okay, the combination ended up being like, was it 12 12 12, because it's like channel 12 was like the station she's always been on this entire time. Then ended up finding out, it's like I guess it's like, oh, Mayor Connolly has some evidence covered up by Cutter, but it's not, because he is connected to the SBK case. I knew it was going to be like, basically he covered up some evidence that basically might implicate him in it, but it was basically because he had an argument with one of the SBK's victims, because it's kind of a situation of, he wanted the guy to scratch his back, because I scratch your back, you scratch my back, in his exact words. And he was basically like, oh, I helped you out, time for you to help me out. But the guy was like, no, I'm not down for that. Was it David Morales was not okay with that? It's like, and it led to them getting into an argument, and the mayor left, and he ended up leaving one of his cufflinks there, and he didn't want it to kind of like, because he knew it would screw him over, because it's like, this is him before, when he was originally running for mayor. So it's like, he knew it would screw over his political career, even being implicated as a possible SBK suspect. So he asked Cutter to get rid of evidence, who, it's kind of like, well, you kind of understand why Cutter did what she did. She wasn't doing it for like, necessarily like political favors, like she did it out of money because her dad needed it. Like, in a situation where dad needed money, she was just kind of starting off as a cop. So you kind of feel for her. It's kind of like you did it for honorable reasons. Granted, you still did very, very illegal things. We haven't seen the ramifications for what they did. I don't know whether they're going to keep that hush hush. I mean, because even though Cutter and Brady didn't really, they bumped heads a lot, the fact of the matter is they started getting closer. I don't know if Brady's going to be willing to overlook that, especially considering the fact of the matter is this evidence doesn't pertain to the case, especially because the mayor has an alibi for where he was at. He was doing a super PAC meeting or whatever at the time Jennifer was killed. So maybe they'll bring that evidence to light. I don't know. I mean, it can work out in Allison's favor because it's kind of like, okay, like it shows how corrupt our mayor is because he's getting cops to cover up evidence that's impeding a serial killer case. So very crucial evidence. Granted, the evidence just, it's not necessarily crucial because he's not guilty, but at the same time, it's like you still did a very illegal thing and it might blow back on Cutter. I don't know. We didn't see that. The ramifications of that, maybe we'll see that next episode. Who knows? That was kind of the last moment we saw the mayor or Cutter in that episode. I also like the fact is that Brady, like I said, he was throwing out a possibility like maybe we should take a step back from Mitchell and Garrett being part of this whole SBK thing. But basically the mayor, God, I don't know why I said that. The FBI agent that's kind of taking over the investigation now is basically telling him like, no, like you're too close to this. You've been too close to it from the beginning. But the fact of the matter is that he went to Jennifer's house with Allison. It's just a conflict of interest, and it's basically like, yo, take a step back, forget about this case. Brady obviously can't. Maybe, partly it's because it's like he wants to do the right thing. He wants to get justice, wants to catch SBK. But at the same time, maybe there's also an ulterior motive of like, hey, it can bolster my career. I like to give him a bit of an indulgence thing. I think he's naturally a good guy, so I don't think it's about bolstering his career. I think it's just about being able to take down a serial killer. I think that aspect to it as well. So, and then we had many other things go down. Like for instance, we have the kids, Allison, Cam, and Tess finding out the truth about their mom. Like, because you see it in the episode where, like, Tess is starting to see, like, your mom is bold-faced lying now. Because it's like, oh, who's this Caleb guy you're on the phone about? Because the FBI took those pictures from Mitchell's funeral. And it's like, oh, maybe SBK's accomplice was there. And one of the people there was Caleb, the man she had an affair with. They basically, Allison and Tess question him. And it's like, oh yeah, your dad never dragged me down the steps. I never made it into the house. He beat me up, yeah, but it was outside. And it's like, wait, mom's been lying. And it's like, okay, let's go back to Cam. He's like, I'm clean now. I'd rather not be diving back in this. They're like, no, you got to. Mom has been lying to us. It's kind of like all of it's catching back up to her, and they confront her at the end of the episode. It's like I said, it proves it more and more. The person they dragged down that stairs was SBK. Like that's who Cam saw Mitchell dragging down the stairs like all those years ago. I thought that, it's just like mom's caught, like, because the thing is, she's always been so quick to tell lies, like to cover up things. Anytime someone brings up a question, she's quick to have a lie ready. But like now her lies are starting to crumble because they're like, we found out this lie, these inconsistencies. What else have you been lying to us about? And I was like, maybe they'll finally learn the truth now, like about what happened 14 years ago. Maybe, the secret that Garrett, and Mitchell have been keeping this entire time. And there was also a quick thing I want to talk about. The fact of the matter is there's that whole project that Jack did. I actually looked it up a little bit. Was it, I forgot what it was called. I looked it up. I forgot his name. The thing with Boston and molasses, I looked it up. It's like, I was wondering, I was like, is that a real thing? It's a real thing, which I recommend, like, honestly looking into it, like, if you're actually curious about it. That was just fascinating to me because I was like, really? That really happened? I was like, no, they hadn't made that up. But look it up. Historically, that really happened. That's crazy. Like back in January of 1919, just like molasses spilled on the street hurt a lot of people. And there was like something I was reading that was basically like, it's kind of a folklore now. And so like people say on like super hot summer days, you can actually smell molasses in the air. Kind of I don't know. I thought that was fascinating. If you're actually curious about it, I do recommend you go read up. And I didn't read up on it too much. I read like a quick, like honestly, Wikipedia article about it. So that was kind of interesting to me. So that really happened like that. I don't know. So, but tying into that, it's the whole like, oh, Cam, he's sober now. Trying to ask April out, but she's like, nah, professionally speaking, that's not a good thing because people who tend to date the people that helped them with their addiction, it's like you tend to have a higher chance of relapsing within the first year. So she's like, let's keep it platonic for now. I love she even gave him like recordings of her saying stuff. It's like, there are no losers, only slow winners, stuff like that. Kind of mantras for him to kind of repeat to kind of keep himself calm, keep himself from thinking about drugs and whatnot. And what I liked is that, because basically for like him, it's just like you can see him now. He's happier. He's feeling good. Even having that moment with Jack, and just because his mom put in his head like, you need to get sole custody of Jack, and he's reluctant about it. You see the reluctance in him, and then he sees Sophie working with Jack on a project, and he's like, you know what? I'm rethinking it. I'm not going to worry about it. Like, you need to be a part of Jack's life. You helped him with this whole project thing. It was amazing. You took what, Jack's weirdness and you kind of put a more positive spin to it. Yes, it was a bit of a morbid project, but at the same time, it was part of Boston history. So that was kind of like, oh, that's cool. So he's like, you basically took an artistic approach to him being him. And I love the fact is that Garrett was there. Like, because I love the fact is Cam was like, I don't know, like in the beginning, he was like, I don't know if like Sophie's going to be around because, I might be indicating sole custody. And if that happens, whatever the case may be, you having it, like you and Jack click. So I want you to be a bit part of his life. And so I was wondering if Garrett was actually going to show up, and I was glad that he was able to show up at the presentation and everything. And just like, you always, no matter what, you always be you. And he's like, and Jack was like, I can't be anyone but me. And just like, that was like, And just Cam was super excited to go off to get some candy, just like, yeah. And then Cam's like, wait, where's my 20? Like, I need change. He's like, no, that's how much it costs. Like, he's like, I've been here before and that just costs. And then, anytime mom has me buy candy from her, and the moment Cam says it, like, notice it, I was like, no. Opens up the box, there's drugs. I'm like, oh, dude, really? Right after he made that compliment about, yo, like, you need to stay in Jack's life, which you kind of saw her kind of giving him shady looks from the side because she saw him and April talking, so a little jealousy. But it's like, oh man, I was like, that sucks. He literally just said, oh no, you're gonna stay in Jack's life, forget about the whole sole custody thing. It's like, nope, completely went back to it. Now I was like, no, you've been having our son buy drugs for you without him realizing. It's like, she tried to, like, but he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know he was buying drugs. He thought he was just buying candy. It's like, is that supposed to make it better? Like, what if they ended up catching Jack? They'd be like, oh yeah, your son is buying drugs, and he could go to jail he could get in serious trouble. I don't know if they'd lock up a kid for buying drugs. Like, they basically look at him as like, oh, your son is a drug mule. Like, why would you even put your kid in a situation like that? It's like, and she was just like, no, Cam, please don't leave me. And it's just like, you didn't give me any choice. Like, that sucked. He literally just was like, no, everything's good. We both stay in Jack's life. And it's like, you just had to screw it up. I mean, granted, it doesn't matter. It's a good thing Cam found out now than much later on down the road. Because the fact is, if this was the first time and it's just kind of like he didn't know, then I guess it'd be okay. I'm not trying to justify it, but it's worse because it's happened multiple times before. Because Jack's even said it, like, oh yeah, this is essentially his go-to candy stop that he buys candy from here. So he's done it multiple times, and it's like, do you have no shame? It's like, holy crap, get your crap together. It's like, I feel so bad for her, but at the same, because Cam's like, you know what? I hope you're able to have a good life. And he walks away, she's just screaming like, Cam, no. And it's just like, oh, my heart breaks for you, but at the same time, it's like, you put yourself in that situation, dude. It's such a shame. Oh, so many good twists and turns. Some things I'm very curious about. Like, I'm super surprised that the Naomi situation hasn't come back to like circle around to anything yet. So maybe that will never be anything. Granted, we still got like 2 or 3 episodes left. I think this is episode 10, maybe. I don't know. I always do that. It's like, oh yeah, this is episode blah blah blah. I happened to look it up afterwards, and I was like completely wrong. But I think we've got like 2 or 3 episodes left, whatever the case may be. So I'm curious if that Naomi thing will ever become a thing, because we haven't seen her. We haven't seen Tom since like 2 episodes ago, after the whole affair thing got brought up. So it's like, oh yeah, we tried to fix our relationship, yet you're still cheating, even though you got on me to break up with Naomi. So like I said, I'm surprised that hasn't come up. And something I was thinking about earlier, it's like, we don't know much about Brady. I'd like to learn a little bit more about him, but maybe that'll never be a thing. Because it's all like, the main focus of this series is the Hawthorne family, as well as like kind of the different ways this family's kind of affected other people's lives. You know, it's just how things worked out. So I don't know. Like, I would like to get a little more context on certain things, but it's just I'm so super excited for next week's episode. Like, you know, some stuff is going to drop. It's like that body being SBK has to come up. It has to, like, whether it's Madeline or whether it's Garrett telling Brady the truth. Now, what I'm hoping on, I hope it's not a situation where, like, a scuffle happens between Garrett and Brady ends up dead. I hope on everything it doesn't end up like that, considering the fact is that, you know, he's about to be a dad. Tess is pregnant with his child. That's her husband. Is like, you know, and Garrett, you know, is the person that she trusts the most, as well as Tess is the person that Garrett trusts the most. And I would hate to see that relationship break apart in that regard. I mean, it might break apart anyway when the truth comes out, because it's like, you've been hiding this entire time. Why have you not told the public that you've killed SBK? Like, come on. Like, I'm super excited, and I cannot wait to see what goes down next episode. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, you know, it makes you wonder also, will SBK's accomplice continue doing what they're doing? Like I said, because I'm very curious to find out their motives behind everything, like who they really are, as well as their motives, like as to why. Well, I mean, also finding out the real identity of SBK, but also finding out like what their relationship is to SBK, why they decided to help them, as to why they took like a 14-year break. Was it because they weren't confident enough in their abilities, or were they actually looking for, maybe, like I said, I brought it up last time, maybe they are very weak-minded and they needed SBK's help to follow through. Like, they needed SBK's guiding hand, but they didn't know where SBK was. It's like disappeared, couldn't get in contact with them. So that's why they've been laying low. And maybe in the recent years, it's like, oh, after Jennifer started digging into it, and like maybe SBK's accomplice found out, it's like, oh, I know that SBK is dead now, and I know that the Hawthornes did it. Maybe they forced Jennifer to kind of do some reconnaissance for them, and then that whole thing played out, and now she's dead. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's extra reason why the person killed. I mean, obviously because SBK's accomplice probably didn't bother hiding their face because they knew from the beginning they were going to kill her. But maybe that was extra reasons because, oh, we don't want didn't want the public to know. It's like, oh, she had Jennifer doing some side stuff for me, just like she was for Allison. I actually feel very bad for Allison because she was like, oh, like, she feels responsible because she's the one that put Jennifer in the crosshairs by doing what she, like, had her looking into the mirror and cut her. Granted, that ended up not being anything, but maybe looking into them led to her getting close to SBK or SBK's accomplice. So, like I said, can't wait for next week's episode. But that's really all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.